Rachel Reeves is in the fight of her political life. Farmers across Britain have erupted in anger, accusing the Labour Chancellor of abandoning them in their hour of need. The spark? A fiery speech from Cornish farmer Victoria Vivian, who publicly challenged Reeves to spend just one day working on a farm. Vivian, who heads the Country Land and Business Association, didn't hold back, saying Reeves has no idea of the devastation her tax policies are causing and calling for the Chancellor to stop hiding. The backlash against Labour's budget reforms is growing louder by the day. Farmers say their livelihoods are on the line, and rural communities fear the collapse of an entire way of life. The stakes couldn't be higher as the political drama spills from the farms to the corridors of Westminster. But first, take a look at this jaw-dropping moment as a Labour MP is caught off guard and forced to admit their lack of first-hand knowledge about the farming crisis.
Westminster and outside the Houses of Parliament. Did you go down and speak to the farmers?
I didn't. I heard them outside my office, if I'm honest, but I've been furiously at work in putting the final touches to the planning reforms that we'll announce in the House of Commons later today.
Yeah, but is the government going to listen to what these farmers are saying? This isn't going away.
Well, we understand the concerns that have been expressed by farmers, but we think the proposals we've put forward and taken forward on inheritance tax are fair. They will only affect a very small minority of farms across the country, and they are an essential part of trying to fix the foundations, put our public finances on a firm footing, given the dire inheritance that we picked up when we came into office, including that £22 billion black hole. So we did have to make some difficult decisions, but we think this is one of the right decisions we've made as part of a budget which is, as I've said, intended to fix those foundations, help the country move on, help us get into the business of national renewal, taking forward the various milestones we've outlined as part of our plan for change, including that very stretching but we think achievable target of building 1.5 million new homes in this Parliament.
OK, Matthew Pennycook, we are running out of time with you, I'm afraid, but thank you very much.
As Christmas morning unfolded across the country, farmers were hard at work. While others unwrapped gifts or tucked into festive breakfasts, these men and women were milking cows, checking on livestock, and maintaining the daily grind essential to keep Britain fed. But this year, Christmas brought little cheer to the farming community. The source of their discontent is Labour's budget, spearheaded by Rachel Reeves. Changes to agricultural property relief, APR, and business property relief, BPR, tax incentives crucial for family farms and rural businesses, have sparked outrage. Farmers warn that these caps will devastate multi-generational farms, forcing many to sell land or shut down entirely. And for some, the breaking point is near. Victoria Vivian's address at the recent BPR summit in London encapsulated the mood of Britain's rural communities. Speaking with palpable frustration, she directed her ire at Reeves and the Labour leadership. "Stop hiding, Rachel," Vivian declared. "When was the last time you stood on a farm or visited a family business struggling under your policies? I'll lend you my wellies. Yes, they've got holes in them, but they'll do. Come spend a day in the mud and muck, and then tell us these changes make sense." Her fiery rhetoric drew applause from the audience, but also underscored the deep divisions between Westminster and rural Britain. "She doesn't have a clue what it's like to run a farm," one attendee said. "She's playing with numbers while we're fighting to survive." This isn't just about frustration. For many farmers, it's about survival. Labour's decision to cap APR and BPR means that inheritance tax bills, once mitigated by these reliefs, will now skyrocket. Families that have farmed the same land for generations face the unthinkable prospect of selling it off to pay the taxman. "We're not just losing businesses," Vivian warned. "We're losing heritage, culture, and the backbone of Britain's food supply." The broader implications of these policies are staggering. Over half of the food consumed in the UK is produced domestically. Staples like meat, dairy, and cereals are overwhelmingly sourced from British farms. If farmers are driven out of business, experts warn, supermarket shelves could empty and food prices could soar. Smaller shops, such as butcheries and bakeries that rely heavily on local suppliers, might be forced to close as supply chains crumble. Meanwhile, Labour's silence is deafening. Rachel Reeves has yet to respond to Vivian's challenge, and rural communities are taking note. Farmers see this as proof that Westminster politicians are out of touch, prioritising revenue over the very people who keep the nation fed. The frustration isn't just confined to farmers. Labour's broader policy agenda is drawing fire from other sectors as well. Plans to roll out digital IDs for age verification, for instance, have sparked fears of government overreach. Critics, including GB News host Bev Turner, have called the proposal a gateway to tyranny. It's not just about ID, Turner warned during a fiery segment. Once your entire identity is tied to a phone, your freedom isn't yours anymore. This is about control. While Turner's comments have sparked a separate debate about personal freedoms, the focus for rural Britain remains squarely on Labour's tax policies. The anger among farmers is palpable, and for many, the breaking point is near. Viviane herself hinted at drastic measures if Labour continues to ignore their concerns. "Maybe we need to stop paying taxes," she said. "Maybe we scale back our operations and let them see what happens when Britain's farms shut down." Such a move would have catastrophic consequences. The UK's food security is already precarious, with supermarkets relying on domestic farms for 52% of their stock. A coordinated strike by farmers could leave shelves empty and disrupt supply chains nationwide. At the summit, farmers discussed how Labour's changes are just the latest in a series of financial pressures. Rising national insurance costs, higher minimum wages, and skyrocketing insurance premiums have left many on the brink. Diversification, turning to holiday lets or farm-based hospitality, has been a lifeline for some, but even these efforts are being taxed more heavily under REEVES' budget. "What we need is common sense, not more taxes," Viviane said. "We're not asking for special treatment, we're asking for policies that let us thrive, not ones that push us to the brink." The government, for its part, has attempted to deflect criticism. A spokesperson from the Department for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, DEFRA, pointed to a £5 billion farming investment plan, touting it as the largest in history, but farmers aren't convinced. "We don't need platitudes," one attendee said. "We need a government that listens." The frustration among rural communities is becoming a political liability for Labour. Farmers, once a quiet and overlooked demographic, are beginning to organise. Social media is awash with hashtags like Save Our Farms, and grassroots movements are gaining momentum. Viviane ended her speech with a stark warning. "You can't tax your way to growth. It doesn't work. And if Labour doesn't change course, the consequences will be felt far beyond the farm gates." As the scandal deepens, all eyes are on Rachel Reeves. Will she accept Viviane's challenge and spend a day on a farm? Or will she continue to stay silent, risking further alienation of rural voters? One thing is certain, this story isn't going away. Farmers are mobilising, rural communities are demanding answers, and the pressure on Labour is mounting by the day. Stay tuned for more updates as this explosive scandal unfolds. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for all the latest twists and turns in this unfolding drama.